The 7 traits of a villain mindset. Leadership forged in silence and finished in shadows. Welcome to Vantage, Aditya. There comes a phase in a leader's evolution when morality stops being a boundary and starts becoming a tool. When the goal is not to be admired or accepted, but to be unavoidable. When you realize that kindness builds comfort, but power builds destiny. Stay till the end, because these 7 stages are not motivation. They are metamorphosis. And once entered, there is no return to softness without regret. Trait 1. A villain does not enter a room. They seep into consciousness. They do not arrive loud. They arrive inevitable. They watch who stands too tall without merit and who hides because of insecurity. They observe who performs confidence and who owns it like a birthright. And while others make introductions, they make assessments. When they speak, it is not to impress but to anchor the atmosphere, to bend attention like gravity, to make others realize they are in the presence of someone who does not crave relevance because relevance has already surrendered to them. They do not rush to contribute. Instead, they let silence wrap around nerves, let impatience drown reckless egos, and only then do they offer a sentence so precise that every wandering thought in the room kneels to it. True villains never enter. They arrive like inevitability wearing patience. Trait 2. A villain learns souls, not faces, and they test loyalty long before loyalty realizes it is being examined. They offer small secrets to see where they travel. They allow others to shine just enough to see whether gratitude or envy blooms. They give trust the way a spider gives thread, to measure who walks gently and who stomps carelessly. When someone smiles too quickly, the villain searches the shadow under the smile, and when someone praises too eagerly, they listen for insecurity hidden beneath admiration. They never expose betrayal with confrontation. Instead, they silently amputate access to their world, leaving the betrayer confused about when the warmth turned to frost and when the door quietly locked against them. Villains understand that betrayal is not a wound. It is a map revealing where to never walk again. Trait 3. A villain never reacts in the moment because battles fought emotionally are battles lost strategically. When someone tries to humiliate them publicly, they do not counter. They simply mark that face with quiet finality. They let the person believe they have won a moment, while the villain prepares to own the entire future. They wait until the attacker needs them. A signature, a nod, a silent endorsement, and then they refuse with such calm indifference that the rejection burns hotter than rage ever could. Villains do not stab. They withdraw support so subtly that the ambitious fool collapses under the weight of their own overconfidence, never realizing that the villain's silence was the most lethal answer ever spoken. Trait 4. A villain does not defeat enemies by force. They make the world forget their enemies existed. If someone tries to block them, the villain does not argue. They simply study the structure that protects that person and begin pulling bricks silently until the fortress collapses without noise. Colleagues who attempted to undermine them suddenly find themselves excluded from decisions, stripped of allies, removed from influence, replaced not through violence, but through inevitability. No confrontation. No explosion. Just a quiet removal from relevance so thorough that the enemy wakes one morning and realizes the world they once commanded now operates perfectly without remembering their name. This is not vengeance. This is deletion. Trait 5. A villain feels emotion but refuses to be governed by it, and they do not rescue those who drown themselves for attention. When someone weaponizes vulnerability to manipulate, the villain does not comfort. They observe the performance, they recognize emotional theater, and they allow discomfort to sit untouched like a mirror forcing truth. If someone tries to guilt them into shrinking, they simply step further into power. If someone tries to cage them with loyalty speeches, they respond with results, not reassurance. They can offer compassion, but never surrender dignity for affection. Villains understand emotion like surgeons understand pain, meaningful when precise, fatal when uncontrolled. Trait 6. A villain does not rush revenge. They let destiny sharpen the blade. They watch those who once smirked at their ambition slowly realize they are now breathing in the dust cloud left behind. They rise without announcing it, improve without broadcasting it, evolve until the gap becomes a chasm too wide for rivals to bridge. And when those same rivals finally turn desperate for alliance, partnership, acknowledgement, or even conversation, the villain greets them with a calm, polite absence. No hostility. Just the void created when one has outgrown the battlefield, while opponents were still preparing insults. Villains do not conquer people. They outgrow them so completely that the battlefield becomes a graveyard of forgotten critics. Trait 7. A villain understands that solitude is not loneliness, it is sovereignty. At the peak, there is silence, and that silence is not empty, it is sacred. They no longer crave audience, applause, reassurance, or emotional hand-holding. They choose allies like scalpel blades, clean, sharp, necessary. They choose lovers like mirrors, reflecting strength, not wounds. If someone betrays them now, they do not rage, they do not chase closure, they do not break, they vanish. Access terminated, presence erased, warmth gone like a light turned off in a castle corridor, leaving the traitor wandering in darkness they cannot escape. The villain is not feared because they punish. The villain is feared because when they let go, the world never gets them back. If you are still here, something inside you is not trying to be polite anymore. You are not reaching for leadership. You are sculpting inevitability. You are not chasing recognition. You are preparing to become the kind of leader whose silence rewrites rooms and whose absence becomes a consequence. Do not fear becoming misunderstood. Fear dying ordinary. Subscribe to Vantage Aditya. And remember, power does not roar. Power whispers. And the world bends anyway.